He was right about beauty being in the eye of the beholder, especially when it comes to purple and yellow. Color perception in humans relies on banks of specialized receptor cells, the rods and cones in the retina. The job of the cone cells is to absorb light of different wavelengths and pass it on to the brain's visual cortex where it can be interpreted. The visible light spectrum, the rainbow of colors, is broad, so the most effective means of discerning color is not one generalized jack-of-all-trades cone cell, but rather an array of specialists, each perfectly tuned to absorb certain wavelengths. The human eye has three kinds. One type excels at detecting red and associated wavelengths, one is tuned to blue. The other optimally perceives light of two colors, purple and yellow. The human eye is superbly equipped to detect these colors and send a signal pulsing to the brain. This doesn't explain why I perceive them as beautiful, but it does explain why that combination gets my undivided attention. I asked my artist buddies about the power of purple and gold, and they sent me right to the color wheel. These two are complementary colors as different in nature as could be. In composing a palette, putting them together makes each more vivid. Just a touch of one will bring out the other. In an 1890 treatise on color perception, Goethe, who was both a scientist and a poet, wrote that, quote, "The colors diametrically opposed to each other are those which reciprocally evoke each other in the eye. Purple and yellow are a reciprocal pair." Our eyes are so sensitive to these wavelengths that the cones can get oversaturated and the stimulus pours over onto the other cells. A printmaker I know showed me that if you stare for a long time at a block of yellow and then shift your gaze to a white sheet of paper, you will see it for a moment as violet. This phenomenon, the colored afterimage, occurs because there is energetic reciprocity between purple and yellow pigments, which goldenrod and asters knew well before we did. If my advisor was correct, the visual effect that so delights a human like me may be irrelevant to the flowers. The real beholder whose eyes they hope to catch is a bee bent on pollination. Bees perceive many flowers differently than humans do, due to their perception of additional spectra, such as ultraviolet radiation. As it turns out, though, goldenrod and asters appear very similarly to bee eyes and human eyes. We both think they're beautiful. Their striking contrast when they grow together makes them the most attractive target in the whole meadow, a beacon for bees. Growing together, both receive more pollinator visits than they would if they were growing alone. It's a testable hypothesis. It's a question of science, a question of art, and a question of beauty.
People of corn, people of light. The story of our relationship to the earth is written more truthfully on the land than on the page. It lasts there. The land remembers what we said and what we did. Stories are among our most potent tools for restoring the land, as well as our relationship to land. We need to unearth the old stories that live in a place and begin to create new ones, for we are story makers, not just storytellers. All stories are connected, new ones woven from the threads of the old. One of the ancestor stories that waits for us to listen again with new ears is the Mayan story of creation. It is said that in the beginning there was emptiness. The divine beings, the great thinkers, imagined the world into existence simply by saying its name. The world was populated with a rich flora and fauna called into being by words. But the divine beings were not satisfied. Among the wonderful beings they had created, none were articulate. They could sing and squawk and growl, but none had voice to tell the story of their creation, nor praise it. So the gods set about to make humans. The first humans, the gods shaped of mud. But the gods were none too happy with the result. The people were not beautiful. They were ugly and ill-formed. They could not talk. They could barely walk, and certainly could not dance or sing the praises of the gods. They were so crumbly and clumsy and inadequate that they could not even reproduce and just melted away in the rain. So the gods tried again to make good people who would be givers of respect, givers of praise, providers and nurturers. To this end, they carved a man from wood and a woman from the pith of a reed. Oh, These were beautiful people, lithe and strong. They could talk and dance and sing. Clever people, too. They learned to use the other beings, plants and animals, for their own purposes. They made many things, farms and pottery and houses and nets to catch fish. As a result of their fine bodies and fine minds and hard work, these people reproduced and populated the world, filling it with their numbers. But after a time, the all-seeing gods realized that these people's hearts were empty of compassion and love. They could sing and talk, but their words were without gratitude for the sacred gifts that they had received. These clever people did not know thanks or caring, and so endangered the rest of the creation. The gods wished to end this failed experiment in humanity, and so they sent great catastrophes to the world. They sent a flood and earthquakes, and most importantly, they loosed the retaliation of other species. The previously mute trees and fish and clay were given voices for their grief and anger at the disrespect shown them by the humans made of wood. Trees raged against the humans for their sharp axes, the deer for their arrows, and even the pots made of earth and clay rose up in anger for the times they had been carelessly burnt. All of the misused members of creation rallied together and destroyed the people made of wood in self-defense. Once again, the gods tried to make human beings, but this time purely of light, the sacred energy of the sun. These humans were dazzling to behold, 7 times the color of the sun, beautiful, smart, and very, very powerful. They knew so much that they believed they knew everything. Instead of being grateful to the creators for their gifts, they believed themselves to be the gods' equals. The divine beings understood the danger posed by these people made of light, and once more arranged for their demise. And so the gods tried again to fashion humans who would live right in the beautiful world they had created, in respect and gratitude and humility. From 2 baskets of corn, yellow and white, they ground the fine meal, mixed it with water, and shaped a people made of corn. They were fed on corn liquor, and oh, these were good people. They could dance and sing, and they had words to tell stories and offer up prayers. Their hearts were filled with compassion for the rest of creation. They were wise enough to be grateful. The gods had learned their lesson, so to protect the corn people from the overpowering arrogance of their predecessors, the people made of light, they passed a veil before the eyes of the corn people, clouding their vision as breath clouds a mirror. These people of corn are the ones who were respectful and grateful for the world that had sustained them. And so they were the people who were sustained upon the earth. Of all the materials, why is it that people of corn would inherit the earth rather than people of mud or wood or light? Could it be that people made of corn are beings transformed? For what is corn, after all, but light transformed by relationship? Corn owes its existence to all 4 elements: earth, air, fire, and water. And corn is the product of relationship, not only with the physical world, but with people too. The sacred plant of our origin created people, and people created corn. And the great agricultural innovation from its teosynth ancestor. Corn cannot exist without us to sow it and tend its growth. Our beings are joined in an obligate symbiosis. From these reciprocal acts of creation arise the elements that were missing from the other attempts to create sustainable humanity: gratitude and a capacity for reciprocity.